कर.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Mana?
I'm seeing some faces. Hello.
Hi, Manu ni teacher. Quality मारा पास में.
We just have about 2 more minutes.
Busy.
I see some beautiful smiles.
You're beautiful. Come on, baby.
So what we're going to do is just wait 1 more minute and then we're going to get started. We have just about 25 minutes and then we'll have time for questions. So I know it's a busy time. It's hard to pick a good time, but for about the next 30 minutes, I just want to thank you for sharing this time with the WellKind community. I am going to open it up at the end for questions and for your thoughts and your ideas, because we all have wonderful ideas that we can share with one another. And many of you may have ideas that you're currently doing for your family, and we want to be able to share that with everyone. So we want to use this time as well to kind of build that connection, despite the fact that we're virtual and we're not sitting in the same room together. So we're going to try to create that at the end and we'll see how it goes. Our last meeting, so we have 40 minutes. It does cut off right there. So I don't want to get stopped in the middle. So I'm going to try really hard to be a timekeeper, as well as present information. But I'm not going to wait any longer because it's 6:30 and I know how precious this time is to all of you. So again, I want to thank you for coming. While I do this, let me just make sure that you can see my screen. 1 second here. And what I would like to do, let's see here, is I'm going to share my screen with all of you and get this up for you. So as per usual, I'm at the end of the thing. So let's get to the front. And quick. Wonderful. Okay, so let's get started. Tonight's workshop is teaching kindness. And the reason that we chose this theme is because yesterday was World Kindness Day. And we know it's something that's important to all of you. And of course, WellKind, if you don't know this, I'll share with you that WellKind comes from wellness and kindness, just putting those two words together, WellKind. That's actually the origin of the name, because those are two things that are important to us, promoting wellness practices as well as kindness. So I hope that you learned something new tonight. I hope that you have a chance to share an idea or ask a question, and that this is going to be a helpful and interactive time for us tonight. So I'm going to get right into it, teaching kindness. I know it's important to a lot of us to make sure that this is something that our children are learning from a very young age. And it's just my hope tonight that we get a better understanding of how this develops in young children and what we can do to promote it. So we don't have many slides here. There's just about 12 slides. So again, I want to get through the slides and then we can talk about some ideas and get your thoughts and opinions, as we go through. So I just wanted to make a quick distinction here between kindness and empathy. So these two go hand in hand, or they appear to, when young children are developing. But kindness is actually the act of doing something good for someone else without expecting reciprocity. So you're not looking for anything in return. You're doing it because you want to, out of the goodness of your heart, we could say, doing something kind for others or for ourselves. This applies to ourselves as well. We should and could be kind to ourselves. Now, empathy is relating to the feeling that someone else is feeling. So if someone is feeling sad, you can show empathy by asking how they are and lending them an ear. So that's empathy. But I wanted to just show this quick distinction because it does blend together a bit in our workshop tonight. So I wanted to point that out. And at the end of this all, we are going to throw gratitude in there because why not? It is November and we have a lot to be grateful for. I wanted to point the quote out at the bottom, a warm smile is the universal language for kindness. And I'm sure you all agree that doesn't matter what language you speak, where you're from, how old you are, a warm smile is the universal language for kindness. So it's understood everywhere and it's the sign for kindness. So let's get started talking a little bit about the characteristics of kindness. And I'm just going to point out some early signs of kindness and empathy and what this can look like in young children. So we can notice that children are developing kindness and empathy when they start to notice the feelings of others. So when they see your face and they might look at you, noticing if you're smiling or if you have a frown on, you might watch them observing their peers. So that's just that first bit of noticing is that kindness and empathy developing. They might curiously look over at someone that's in distress. Maybe you're in the store and another child's crying and they look over at them and they just seem like they want to, or they're curious about it. They might want to be able to help, but they don't know what to do. So that's a sign that they're developing kindness and empathy. They might attempt to comfort someone when they're in distress. So if someone is upset, they might go over and give them a hug. Maybe if you are on the phone and you had a difficult conversation, maybe your child just walks over and hugs you. So they might not even know what was said, but they can feel that something is upsetting. So that's another sign that empathy and kindness is being developed. They may become distressed when they witness an event, or it could be a distressed person or an event. Again, it could go back to the example I gave in the store. If someone was yelling or crying, they might also start to cry. That is showing that they don't really know what to do with these feelings, but they can tell that something isn't feeling good to them. So that's a sign that it's being developed as well. Once they start using their creative skills, they might, if they have access to paper and crayons, they might make something for someone. It might surprise you. They'd make you something because they want to see you smile. That is a sign that they're developing kindness and empathy. And asking why questions or reading your facial expressions, that can happen a lot as well. And we don't realize it, but we wear a lot on our faces. And sometimes we are just looking or thinking and our child might misread. So that's why it's important to talk about this and to show a little awareness of what's going on in ourselves and to share that with our children in terms of feeling words that they can understand. So sometimes if we're focused on a task, we might look angry and they look over at us and we smile at them and then they smile back, knowing that we actually aren't angry, we were just focusing. So that's a sign that they are developing kindness and empathy. We see this a lot because we actually have what we call dramatic play areas. So we have sections of the classroom that are meant for the children to role play, to dress up, to act out different scenes. So we get to see this quite often, and it's a really fun area of the classroom because children express many things in that area. But you might see that in your home as well. They might act out if there was some type of an emotional situation that happened or a conversation. You might see them shuffling, their toys around quickly, or even pretending to cook. And if you're rushing while you're cooking dinner, you might see them start moving the pans quickly if they have some play equipment that they use to cook or pretend play. So that's another example. Or maybe just imagining ways to help someone feel better and make someone feel better. If you comment to them that, grandma's feeling sick, they might say, oh, maybe I should make grandma a picture, or maybe we can stop by and say hi. So those are all ways that you can be assured that your child is developing empathy and kindness. So this is just a little age range for you to see how children are developing these characteristics and how at what age. So in infancy, research shows over and over again that babies have an amazing sensitivity to emotions, and they absorb all of those emotions that are happening around them, and they may react to them depending on the temperament of your baby. If your baby is very sensitive to sounds or lights, anything sensory in their environment, you might find them to react in big ways if it's not a calm, soothing environment, or if there's some abrupt changes. So babies are much more in tune and aware than I think they're given credit for quite often. But that's the first stage of development where they start to become aware of feelings and emotions. They don't know quite what to do with them yet, but they're aware of them. Now, our 1-year-olds, every age is super fun, but our 1-year-olds are starting that independence, and they're able to walk around or at least cruise around, as we say. And they also do a lot of observing of their peers, observing their facial expressions, their actions, and they're just doing a lot of inputting. So everything they're watching, it's just going in, like a computer is just being inputted information. And this is when they do begin to engage in that pretend play. Like I mentioned, they might pick up a cup and pretend to drink out of it, even if there's nothing in it. They might just pretend to do things like that. They're developing, this development is helping their awareness of their feelings. It's when they start to be helpful. They're starting to follow routines, and you're able to give a direction like, please bring me your shoes. And they walk over and get their shoes and bring them over. So their receptive communication, what they hear and know what to do is really becoming developed at this age. So in 2-year-olds, that's that big stage where vocabulary can really just take off. If they were kind of babbling before or not saying many words, that's when sentences can start to string together. And it's also the time when they really need that independence. So they need a lot of little jobs to do. They need to feel that they're a part of things and that they are helpful. It's also a very egocentric age, though. So it's an age that parents can get a little worried because they think that, you know, they see their child, it's all about them, and they get a little worried. But that's extremely normal, that a 2-year-old is very egocentric and it's all about their needs being met and everyone else's needs come secondary. That is a stage and just something to be aware of. But they will, during this stage, also develop a deeper understanding of feelings, and you'll see more of those caring gestures. You'll see more of that attunement with others' feelings, even though they might cause their peer or their sibling or someone else some pain if they hit them or something like that. They may walk away and feel, you know, walk away because they got what they wanted out of it. But then you'll notice that they may look back and they're curious and wondering, are they okay? Or they might right away go and check on the other person. So they are egocentric. They do care about themselves very much at this age, but they're developing a deeper understanding. When they're 3 to 5 years old, they have many more opportunities to explore and to go into deeper play scenarios. So again, this comes out in our classrooms in the dramatic play areas. A lot of pretend play happens, and it's really quite impressive what they come up with and how they use the environment and the props that they have. But I'm sure you see this in your home if you have 3 to 5 year olds. Their creativity is just amazing. They can, you know, anything can turn into anything else. Their minds are wide open. So it's a wonderful age. And they get a lot of opportunities to explore feelings and emotions through their environment, through these play experiences, through peer relationships. So these, you know, talking back and forth with their peer and adding something to the situation. And they may ask you, will you play with me, mommy? Will you play with me, daddy? And it's the time to say yes to that, because really when they're asking you to play, that's kind of their decompression of the day. So it's not just about the play. It's I need you to work this through with me today. So they learn through play. They also process through play. So it's a wonderful time to say yes. And when you play with them, pay attention to what they're talking about. to what they are imagining, because that's kind of their brain. How we come home at the end of the day and we need to decompress, that's how they decompress. And I think that their decompression is probably a healthy one, wouldn't you agree? As opposed to maybe just zoning out in front of the TV or on our phones, which is what adults can tend to do sometimes. But children act it out, so that's a really nice stage. They can also use books for this, and they might ask for certain books because they want to hear how the play scenario goes, what the storyline is like, and that helps them process as well. Of course, 6-year-olds and older, when they're in elementary school, they have quite a few opportunities to express themselves, because they may have some decent writing skills at this time. So they can write out their feelings, they can draw, they can really let out what's inside, come out on paper or in conversations a little more in-depthly. So it's a time when that kindness, empathy, gratitude, all of that blending together can come out more readily. So these are just some age ranges, just so you can understand and see how it progresses over time. So what we want to suggest is that affirming these acts of kindness are extremely important. So when your child is doing an act of kindness, or when you are doing an act of kindness, or are witnessing someone else, even out in the store or on the street, or a family member, it's really important to point out when you witness this in your child, or if they have an empathetic response to another person. If they go and they pat their sibling on the back, if their sibling says, ouch, it's wonderful to make sure that you say something about that he was feeling sad and you patted him on the back and you were trying to make him feel better. So giving them the words for what they were trying to do or feel is really important. This helps to expand your child's awareness, as well as build their brains to seek out more opportunities to do this. So when they get affirmed for what they do, when they get a pat on the back or a positive reaction from you, they're going to tend to look for more opportunities to do a similar thing. So this is a simple example, but if your child drags a blanket over and covers their doll, you might say to them, if they don't have the words, you might say, and even if they do have the words, sometimes it's nice to just say it. If you have a 5-year-old and they could clearly say what they were doing, sometimes just hearing it coming from you makes a difference, and you're really solidifying that practice of being kind and doing something nice for someone else. So saying something, just simply stating, the baby was cold and you made her warm when you put the blanket on. So that is just a simple way. And I think sometimes we overlook that when we're with our young children. And it's really important to point out all of those little things that you see along the way. So let's see. This is something that goes along a little bit with the last slide, filling in the blanks for our children. A lot of times we spend so much time with our children that we do so much good. Maybe we're cooking a meal for a friend, or we are, we're going to pay for the person behind us in line for their coffee, or we see someone struggling and we hold the door for them, or something like that. And although it's extremely important that our children see us doing these things, because we are their first teacher, of course, and modeling the behavior that we want to see in our children is extremely important. But I didn't want to forget to say here that we need to fill in the blanks. We need to spell it out for our children. So when we do something kind for someone else, we can't just assume that they understand what we're doing. We really need to say, Aunt Mary is sick, so I'm making her this big batch of soup, and we're going to bring it over to her house to help her feel better. And you can include your child in that. Maybe they help you make the meal. Maybe they help you make a card to go along with the meal. But at the very least, we want to be explaining what we're doing, because all of you on this call, we have so many wonderful families at WellKind, and we are so grateful to have you in our program. And we know that you're doing good in the world, and that is our hope for our program as well. But it's important to say what you're doing, and especially to your children, because they don't always understand. If you think back to being a child, there's some areas of confusion that you kind of remember. Oh yeah, I remember we did that every Saturday, but now that's why. So if the blanks weren't filled in for us by an adult, we really just go through some of the motions and we're not really sure. But that might be a really kind thing. Maybe your grandmother made food for a neighbor every single Sunday while you were at her house, but you didn't really know what she was doing. You just saw that she was in the kitchen all the time. But it's important that we fill in those blanks for our children and tell them what we're doing and why it's kind and why it's important and the reason why we're doing it. So we want to make sure that we're filling them in on what's happening. And this, of course, is anything that we're doing kind. Or if you hold the door open for someone, after you do that and that person goes through, you can say to your child, Mommy held the door open for them because they seemed like they were struggling and they had a lot of bags that they were carrying, and I wanted to make sure that they got through the door. I know those seem very simple, but those are the ways that we reaffirm, that we show our children what's important and what we value. So it's just a really, really key thing to do, and just make it a habit that you're constantly telling them all of the good that you're doing. Just brag about it all the time, because that's how they learn what to do and how to do it. So again, you're their first teacher. So I wanted to just change gears here. We do get the question sometimes about, my child just seems to be concerned about themselves. They only care about their own needs. I'm just worried. How are they in school? Are they kind? And I just wanted to say that it is a process over time of children's development. So as you saw on one of the original slides, from infants all the way up to elementary school, it is a learning process. So children are definitely more preoccupied with their own needs being met at younger ages. They're really just concerned that their needs are met. And that's very, very appropriate because it's about survival for them, and they want to make sure that their needs are met. But as the years develop, and you'll see over time that those character traits of kindness and empathy, that they do start to develop, and it is a learned skill. So we want to make sure that we're doing as much as we can to fill in the blanks for them, to affirm those kind deeds that we see them do, no matter how small. So it could be the smallest thing. If your children are always fighting about who gets in the car first, if one day one of your children lets the other child in front of them and doesn't say anything, that's the time to say, that was so kind of you to let her in front of you today. I know you like to be first, and that was really nice of you. So those are just little things that we can do over time that are going to develop this skill. But again, personality, so a child's temperament style, and temperament doesn't mean temper, it's their personality trait. So what their personality is like is a big factor of how much or how little empathy can be expressed over time. Sometimes they don't show it as openly as others, but it doesn't mean it's not being developed. But your child's personality, whether they are on the shyer side or the more outgoing side, and also their speed of growth affects the expression of these skills. So if they're developing greatly in a certain area, like they're all over the place, they're walking, they're running around, that's the focus of their development at that time. And maybe other things will start to develop at different times. So everything doesn't develop at the same time. So if empathy is developing, maybe something else is slowing down in that moment. And that's just healthy and normal development. So don't be alarmed. If you have any questions, you can certainly ask your child's teacher. You can ask me more information about this if it's something you're concerned about. If your child doesn't seem to care about others and you're kind of a little worried about that, that's definitely something to bring up. So we'd love to help you with that. Here's some ideas and activities to promote these skills at home, and they're super simple. And this is actually something that I wanted to open up at the end for any feedback that you have. Maybe you have some great ideas that you'd like to share with the group here. But simple things, random acts of kindness, things that we can do for others is just a really fun way to bring this type of challenge into your home, this positive challenge, this little competition, who can do more acts of kindness for others today. So a nice way to do that is to just ask your child. And even if your child is not speaking back to you yet, it's important to keep these habits and just say, whose day can we brighten today? What can we do for someone else today? Who can we help out today? And even if your child is an infant, that's okay. You're still asking the question, and then you can answer the question. I think I'm going to help so-and-so today, or I'm going to make this person smile by saying this. So all of that is just filling in the blanks for your children. But little things that you can do, and these are just kind of some ideas. You can compliment the first 3 people you see that day. So if your child is the first person you see, then you give them the compliment. If another loved one is the second person, give them a compliment, and maybe someone on the way to work on the street or something like that. So your child has to witness you doing these things, and then they will start to do them as well, and they'll pick it up. And it's really funny because children really pick up on these habits quickly, and they hold us accountable. Then they're like, "Hey, mom, you forgot to do that." So it's really a beautiful thing. Another simple idea, and these are just all things that you can do that don't cost money. They're not anything that is going to make or break a budget. They're just simple things that you can do. Another example is to leave little sticky notes or little notes around the house or at work or anywhere really. You've seen us do kindness rocks at WellKind. You can make a kindness rock and put a positive message and just leave it somewhere in a park or leave it somewhere where someone's going to see it, because you never know what that little note is going to mean to someone else. And I believe that note is meant to get to the person it's meant to. And we can never truly know the positive impact that we have on someone else's life, but it's wonderful to kind of sprinkle it around as much as we can. So if you leave a positive sticky note somewhere that just says you're amazing or good job or smile or anything, or you're loved, you can really write anything. What I like to recommend to people is write what you would like to receive, write something that you would love to hear, write what you feel like you need right now. If you need to hear you are loved, then write you are loved and put that sticky note somewhere for someone else to see, because that's how this ripple effect takes off. So another idea is to have your child make a picture and ask them who they want to give it to. Is there anybody that you think would really enjoy this picture, or somebody you can make smile with this picture? That's something that you can do simply. And if your child likes to draw, this is an easy one, and they're probably constantly giving you them, but you can give them out. You can give them to a stranger. You can give them, put them on the side of, those bulletin boards. You can put something up there that makes someone else smile. You just never know what someone needs that day. You can allow someone to get in front of you in line, and you're waiting in line somewhere, and just let someone get in front of you. But it's important, again, to say that to your child, maybe not in that moment, because the other person's like, okay, now she's telling her child that she let them in front of, or she let me in front of them. That could be a little awkward, but you could wait till you get to the car and say, did you see how mommy let that gentleman get in front of her in line? It seemed like he needed to get out of there quickly. He seemed like he was in a rush. So I thought that would be a nice thing to do. So those are little ways that you can do random acts of kindness, and they can really catch on. Some family habits that we recommend is getting into the habit of asking each person on a daily basis how they are feeling. And this seems so simple, but sometimes we just forget to say, how are you feeling? And just, sometimes it just, the day goes by and no one's really asked us, how are we feeling? We say, how's your day? But that's different. How are you feeling is a question that we really should be asking each other on a daily basis, because it really puts us in line with what we're feeling. If someone asks me that, I have to stop and think. I have to be like, how am I feeling? Okay, I'm feeling pretty good, or, and I start to notice. And that's what your child will do as well. They'll start to notice. You can even say some things that we use at WellKind. We say, check in with how you're feeling. Just wait a minute, take a deep breath. Now tell me what you're feeling. And it's also good to compare. If your child is a little accelerated, you can say, how are you feeling? I can see that you're a little energetic. And they might say, yeah, I'm feeling excited. And then you can ask them to take a deep breath. And then you can say, how are you feeling now? And they might say, I'm feeling calm. And that's just showing them that they are in control of their feelings based on how they take care of their breathing, their bodies. But just that awareness is really important. So how are you feeling is a great question to ask on a daily basis. This opens up communication. It also builds trust and empathy. And when can we do these things? We can do this in the car. We can do this during meal times. We can do this in these down times, these in-between times. We call them transition times at WellKind. When we're transitioning from one thing to the next, it's a transition time. So another question you can say is, what's something kind that you did for someone else today? That's just a beautiful question, because it causes your child to start looking for those things. And the first time you ask them, they might have to think about it and say, oh, I helped my friend clean up. And they had to think about it for a minute. But if you keep asking that question, you're actually building their brain to start seeking out ways to help people and to be kind, because they want to have something to say to you. They want to be ready to answer that question. So what is something kind that you did for someone else today? They're actually going to be spending their day looking for ways to do kind things for others so that they can report back to you and say, hey, Mom, I helped my friend today. Hey, Mom, my friend fell and I rubbed their knee, or I asked the teacher for a Band-Aid. So that's really important. And it's a really simple one. It doesn't take much time at all. But what is something kind that you did for someone else today? And I always say to families, don't forget to answer this question too. Sometimes we ask the questions, but we don't answer the question. Even the question as simple as, how was your day? And they say, fine. What did you do today? Oh, I don't know. But if we ask, what's your favorite thing that you did today? It gets their mind going in a different way. But then don't forget to answer the question. If you ask, what was your favorite thing that happened today? You got to be ready to answer. And you say, Mommy's favorite thing that happened today was, and you give that answer too, because that's how the sharing happens. And that's how your child gets to build their emotional vocabulary, because they hear from you as well and from other members of the family. It's also important to read together and point out acts of kindness and empathetic responses that you're seeing. So if you're reading a book and someone does something kind, point it out and say, spell it out for them. I know sometimes you think, well, I read the book, they heard it, but it's important to draw attention to those things. And if someone reacts in a way that you would like your child to react to a situation, point it out in the book. A lot of books have a good storyline for us to draw meaning back, and we can extend it and stretch it out for our children. So I told you I was going to throw gratitude in here because it is November and gratitude follows kindness. So in this month of November, where we celebrate both kindness and gratitude, just wanted to point out that acts of kindness, anytime we do something kind for someone else, it creates positive feelings. And those positive feelings promote a sense of gratitude. So see how it all works together in a cycle. So we do something kind for someone, or someone does something kind for us. We feel good. We want to do more good. And we also just have this sense of gratitude for the kind act that someone did for us, or the good feelings that we have for doing things for others. So another idea is to add a gratitude practice, something very simple to your family life. You can start or end your day thinking of 3 things that you're grateful for. This is a wonderful thing to be part of your morning routine or your nighttime routine. So when you're getting your child to bed and giving them that last hug and kiss, you can say, what's something that you're grateful for? And they can write it down if they can have a little journal by their bed. Sometimes children like to have a little journal by their bed where they just write or draw if they can't write yet. But you can share something that you're grateful for. I'm grateful that I get to give you this big hug right now, or I'm grateful that we had all this time to spend together today, or I'm grateful that tomorrow's Friday and we have the weekend together, something like that. But getting them in the mindset again of thinking that way is what we want to be doing. So a gratitude practice is just a simple thing, simple habit that we build each and every day to make sure that we are perpetuating this cycle of positive habits. Gratitude is an inward feeling for a kindness received. That is it for our slides tonight. So I wanted to open it up to any questions anyone has. And if I don't have an answer for you tonight, I'll certainly get back to you. Or if anybody has a kindness or a gratitude practice that they use in their home that they want to share, I'd love to hear that. So you can just come off mute, or you can ask a question, or you could just get back to your dinner or nighttime routine. I'm not sure, everyone's on a little bit of a different schedule, but it is 7 o'clock. So I know that bedtime is not far away.
Well, I know something that I'm Jessica. Something we practice at home is, how when someone says, oh, you have a good day, our response here, we practice to respond with, and you have a better one.
Oh, I love that.
So, catch a lot of people off guard.
Yeah.
We notice it does make them smile a little bit bigger.
Oh, that is so nice. I love that. I love that. And the key, you said you notice that they smile a bit bigger. That's just so nice. And your children getting to witness that and being a part of that, participating in making someone have a bigger smile, it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. So thank you for sharing that. I think I'm going to start doing that. Hope you don't mind that you'll have a bunch of copycats after tonight.
No, not at all.
Does anybody else have anything that they do, a kindness practice that they involve their children in, or something that they'd like to share with the group? And it's okay if you don't yet. Maybe you got some good ideas tonight.
With Mizzy, you know, what my concerns with her were at the beginning, right? And I try with her, but it's just like, I know you guys tell me she's like really verbal and stuff in school, and she's very social, and she's like the best kid in the world. But it's like, I don't get that here. Like, I try, we go outside, like people compliment her, let's say, and then she'll be like, I love my mom.
Oh,
Like, it's things like that. So she's like very awkward and shy about it. And like, I want to, you know, we try her sister, she's 6, and she does a lot. Like, they practice kindness in school. And so she always comes home, she asks us how our day is and all of this other stuff. And but with Mizzy, it's just like, she'll be like, like whatever, you know, like, I went to school, I played a little, and now I'm here. I don't have no homework or anything, but I'm here.
yeah.
Like, how would I help her better that, or like better herself in that aspect?
Yeah. So it sounds like, I will say this, you know, children let their hair down at home for sure. So if school is telling you, if the teachers are saying that she's great and you're getting complimented, you know, out in public, then you're doing a lot of things right. Let's just say that. At home, you know, they can just kind of be themselves. But if you're finding that you want to develop more of an emotional vocabulary for her and get her to channel some of those feelings that she's having inside, but she doesn't really know what to do with them yet, drawing is a great way, because if they don't have the words yet and they can't write, it's a nice way to just get things out on paper. So maybe buying her, or getting her even a dollar store journal, something. It doesn't have to be anything expensive, just a small little notebook that's just hers. And you can say anything you're feeling, you can just draw it in here. Even if it's just a scribble, just let it be in the notebook. And sometimes that can just help her get the feelings onto paper. But that's something that we can work on. So I definitely would like to, you know, connect on this, because it's really an interesting thing that you pointed up. And I'm sure a lot of people could benefit from similar personality types in their house that they're looking to develop.
Like, she doesn't have a problem speaking her emotions and stuff like that, but it's just more so like other people. Like, we'll ask her, like, how was your day? How was this? What are you doing? And she'll just like, like, whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, it is what it is with her. Like, that's just what it is. So like, and I know I brought that up to Miss Courtney. I'm like, you know, like, she's, the way y'all say she is in school, she is completely the opposite at home. Like, completely the opposite.
So I'll say this, it looks like I thought we had a few more minutes, but it looks like our meeting is going to wrap. I thought that we had a bit more. It is going to wrap. So I will follow up with this for Q&A. So thank you for joining us tonight. I will say that it sounds like she just needs maybe a question like, what was your favorite thing today, instead of how was your day? Not a yes.